The first time I saw her, she was dressed in black from head to toe, tailored suit, leather gloves, hair pulled back in a style that screamed control. Her expression didn't change when I was led into the room, like a prisoner being delivered. She didn't rise to greet me.
She didn't speak.
She just looked at me, those dark eyes sweeping over me like she was inspecting damage she hadn't caused but would now be responsible for. I hated her instantly. Not because of who she was, Valeria Kane, heiress of the Kane Empire, feared by rivals, revered by allies, known for turning corporate warfare into blood sport, but because she didn't even flinch when they told her I was the peace offering. To end this, my father had said, to stop the bloodshed between the Hartleys and the Kanes. You'll marry her, and this will be over. I hadn't responded. I'd only looked out the window of the car, trying not to show how my hands were shaking. That was 6 hours ago. Now I stood across from her in a cold, sterile room lined with men in suits and silence. And she still hadn't said a word to me. Is this acceptable? One of the Kane advisors asked. Valeria finally stood. She walked toward me, slow and deliberate, stopping a breath away. She was taller than I expected, broader. Her presence filled the space like smoke. Her gaze met mine, and for the briefest second, something flickered in it. Not approval, not disdain. Something I couldn't name. She'll do, Valeria said. And that was it. That was my wedding proposal, if you could even call it that. The ceremony was private. No guests. Just signatures, legal documents, and a tension that clung to my skin like cold rain. Valeria didn't touch me. She didn't even look at me again until we were alone in her car, the door shut, the deal sealed. You have a choice, she said, her voice low and smooth like aged scotch. We can pretend. You can play the part of the quiet, obedient wife, and I'll give you everything your family wants. Or, she turned to look at me. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you. You can speak your mind, keep your name, and live in my house like a human being. But if you choose the second, you'll have to earn every inch of respect. I don't hand it out. I stared at her, the ring heavy on my finger. Why would I care about your respect? Because I'm not going to treat you like they did. I don't throw people away. I didn't answer.
I didn't know how.
She turned her eyes back to the window. Your room is on the east wing. You don't have to see me unless you want to. I did want to, and I hated that I did. The house or mansion really was as cold and unwelcoming as she was. Polished marble floors, steel fixtures, furniture that looked untouched. Staff moved like ghosts, silent and efficient. I was shown to my room by a woman named Elise who barely looked older than me but carried herself like someone who answered only to Valeria. If you need anything, Elise said as she opened the door, you ask me. Not her. Understand?
Why? I asked.
Elise hesitated. Because she's not like other people. She does things her own way. And what way is that? The kind that leaves no room for mistakes. I didn't unpack. I didn't eat. I just sat on the edge of the massive bed in a room that didn't feel like mine, staring at the wall until the sun disappeared. I didn't cry.
I wouldn't give them that.
But my throat burned like I had. The first night passed without incident. She didn't come to my room. I didn't leave it. But the next morning there was a tray outside my door. Coffee, toast, fruit. I hadn't asked for it. I didn't touch it. That afternoon, I wandered the halls, searching for a way to feel anything other than invisible. The house was quiet, too quiet. And then I found her, Valeria, in the library. Alone. Reading. She looked up when I walked in. Lost. Exploring, I said. Do I need permission? Only if you plan to touch my books. God forbid. Her lips twitched, almost a smile. Almost. I stepped farther in. You really going to pretend this is normal? Nothing about this is normal, she said, setting her book down. But we play the roles we're given. And what's my role? That depends. On what? Whether you plan to hate me forever, Or if you're going to figure out that we're both victims here. I stared at her. You don't seem like a victim. Neither do you, she said. And then she stood and left the room without another word. That night, I ate dinner alone. Again. But the third night, she sat across from me at the long table. Silent. Watchful. I didn't speak.
I didn't know what to say.
But she passed me the wine without being asked. She made sure the staff served me first. She didn't say a word, but her silence wasn't cold. It was careful. I began to wonder who she really was beneath the armor, and if she was wondering the same about me. Days passed, then weeks. We lived like strangers with an invisible thread between us, taut and trembling. I watched her more than I should have, and sometimes I caught her watching me too. She never touched me, never crossed a line, but she was always aware. One night, I fell asleep in the library, curled in the window seat with a book I hadn't really been reading. When I woke, there was a blanket over me. I looked up and saw her leaving, quiet as shadow. Valeria, I said before I could stop myself. She paused at the door. Thank you. She didn't turn around. Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for kindness. I'm doing it because you're not disposable, no matter what they told you. And then she was gone. But the way my heart pounded told me she'd left something behind anyway. I stopped expecting her to knock. Valeria moved like smoke, silent, invisible until you felt the heat of her presence. By the second week, it had become a pattern. I'd wake up and find the door to my room slightly ajar. Not open, not forced, just touched, as if to say, I'm checking, but I won't cross the line. Sometimes there was coffee on the nightstand. Sometimes a folded note with one word written in that sharp, elegant hand. Eat.
Rest. Breathe.
I never caught her doing it. She never brought it up. But I felt her more in those silent gestures than in the few clipped conversations we'd had. The world thought she was ruthless, unfeeling, dangerous. Maybe she was.
But not with me. Not yet.
We still didn't share meals. Not formally. But some nights, I found myself drifting toward the kitchen, barefoot and restless, only to find her already there, sleeves rolled to her elbows, a glass of wine in one hand, the other flicking through her phone. The first time, I almost left, but then she looked up, and instead of telling me to go, she slid the bottle of wine across the counter toward me. Couldn't sleep? She asked. Didn't want to. She nodded, and just like that, it became another ritual. We didn't speak much on those nights, just existed in the same room. She'd cook something light, usually pasta, eggs, once a grilled cheese that made me laugh because it was the most human thing I'd seen her do. What? She asked. Nothing, I said, watching her bite into the sandwich like she hadn't eaten all day. I just didn't think someone like you ate real food. What do you think I eat? Contracts.
Cigars.
The souls of men who disappoint you.
She smirked, and it was devastating.
Only on Tuesdays. I smiled despite myself, and something loosened in my chest. Later that night, I lay awake thinking about her mouth. The way it curved when she almost smiled. The way she spoke like every word had already been filtered through 10 layers of control. I wondered what it would be like if she stopped holding back. One afternoon, I wandered into the indoor garden. I didn't know why I was drawn to it. Maybe because it was the only place in the house that felt alive. Lush ivy climbed the stone walls, and a skylight above cast warm gold light over soft moss and carefully arranged flower beds. She was there. Of course she was. Sitting on a bench beneath a fig tree, blazer discarded, sleeves rolled up. Her hair was down. She looked undone.
Human.
I almost left, but she looked up.
Stay, she said.
Not a command. A request. I walked toward her and sat at the other end of the bench.
She didn't speak.
Neither did I. But she handed me a peach from the small bowl beside her. I bit into it.
Sweet. Soft. Messy.
Juice ran down my fingers. She watched me wipe it away with the back of my hand. Her gaze lingered. No one's ever looked at me the way you do, she said. I blinked. How do I look at you? Like you're trying to understand me. Like you're not afraid to see something ugly. I don't think you're ugly. That's because you don't know the whole story. Then tell me.
She shook her head.
If I told you everything, you wouldn't sit this close to me. Try me. She looked at me for a long time, then stood. Some things are safer left buried. She walked away before I could stop her. That night, I found her outside my door again. Not Valeria. Just another folded note. This one said, "You make this harder." I read it 3 times before folding it back and slipping it beneath my pillow. Days blurred. Then came the fundraiser. A formal event. High society. Smiling masks and political money. I hadn't been told until the morning of. Elise knocked, handed me a dress I hadn't chosen and said, "You'll be at her side tonight. Press will be there." Smile. Will she tell me anything about it?
No.
But she'll be watching. So, be careful who you pretend to be. I hated how much I cared what Valeria thought. But when I walked down the stairs in that dark green gown, hair up, heels clicking against the marble, I felt her eyes before I saw them. She stood at the base of the stairs, dressed in midnight black, collar open, sleeves tailored to perfection. Her eyes traveled slowly down my body, and for the first time, I saw her stunned. Her mouth parted. Just slightly. But it was enough. "You look," she said, then stopped. I waited. "Say it." "Beautiful," she finished, voice low. "Like a war, I don't know how to win." The drive to the event was quiet.
Tense.
Her hand brushed mine once on the seat between us. She didn't pull away. The event was everything I expected. Flashing cameras, glittering lies, empty laughter. But Valeria never left my side. Not once. Every man who looked at me was met with a glance that could kill. Every woman who tried to talk to her was dismissed with a polite, cold smile. We weren't lovers. Not really. Not yet. But she made me feel like I belonged to her. Like I was the only one who mattered in that entire building. It wasn't until I stepped into the bathroom to breathe for a second that I realized how badly I needed her near. When I came out, a man was waiting. Older. Familiar. A family associate from my father's side. "So this is how they dress you now," he said, eyes crawling over me. "I always said you'd make good currency." I stiffened. "Excuse me? Don't act surprised. This marriage was bought, girl. Same as any deal." He stepped closer. "Bet she hasn't even touched you yet. Kane women don't need to. They own with fear." "Step back," I warned. Or what? That's when I saw her. Valeria. Standing at the end of the corridor, watching.
Silent. Still.
Rage vibrating in every inch of her body. She said, "Step back." Valeria said, her voice ablaze. The man turned. "Relax. Just talking." "Then let me make something clear," she said, walking toward us. "Touch her again, look at her like that again, breathe near her again, and I will take everything you love, piece by piece, until you forget what it felt like to matter." He laughed nervously. "Jesus, Valeria, it was a joke. Get out."
He did.
Without another word. She turned to me. "Did he hurt you?" "No, but my hands were shaking." She stepped closer. "May I?" I nodded. She took my hands in hers.
Warm.
"Steady. You're not property," she whispered. "I don't care what they told you." "Then what am I?" I asked. She looked at me like she was breaking. "Mine." And then, God help me, she kissed me. Just once. Just enough to ruin everything else. She kissed me like she wasn't supposed to. Like she'd been holding it in for so long that when it finally broke free, it came out raw and quiet and trembling at the edges. Her lips met mine with a restraint that made my chest ache more than hunger ever could, like she was afraid I'd vanish if she let the kiss deepen. But I didn't vanish. I leaned into her. I tasted her. I let myself feel the truth I'd been denying for weeks, that I wanted her. Not the idea of her. Not the power or the protection or the cold precision everyone feared. I wanted the woman who checked my door every night. The one who left me coffee and notes and whispered mine like it hurt to say out loud. And then she pulled away.
Just barely.
Just enough. Her breath touched my lips like an apology. I shouldn't have done that, she said, but her hands were still on my waist, her eyes still locked on my mouth. Why not? I asked, my voice unsteady. Because this isn't real. It feels real. It's not meant to. I stepped back, not because I wanted distance, but because I needed to breathe. Do you regret it? She looked at me like she wanted to say yes. But instead, she said, I regret not doing it sooner. We didn't speak for the rest of the ride home, but her hand never moved from mine. She held it like it was the only thread tying her to the world. And I let her. When we got back, I expected her to disappear into her office like she always did, to retreat behind her doors and walls and silence. But instead, she followed me into my room. She didn't say a word. She just sat at the edge of the bed and watched me undo the tiny buttons at the back of my dress. Her eyes followed the movement of my fingers like each one was a sin she couldn't stop imagining. I could feel her breath from where she sat, her presence like heat spreading through the air. I turned to face her once the dress slid down my shoulders. Her eyes darkened. You should go, I whispered. I know, but you're not going to. No, when she stood, I didn't move. I didn't breathe. She stepped close enough that I felt her body before it touched mine. Her fingers brushed my cheek, my shoulder, the line of my collarbone.
Tell me to stop, she said.
I don't want you to. The air between us fractured. Her lips crashed into mine, all restraint gone. She kissed me like a warning, like a promise, like she already knew we'd never come back from this. Her hands slid down my back, pulled me closer, and I let her. I wanted every piece of her, every sharp, broken, aching part. We fell into bed like we were falling into war, hungry, reckless, unstoppable. She touched me with reverence and desperation, like she didn't know how to be gentle, but was trying for me anyway. I memorized the sound of her breath, the weight of her body, the way she whispered my name like it was a secret she never meant to say out loud. And when it was over, she didn't move away. She didn't armor herself back up.
She stayed,
her hand resting over my stomach, her breath slow and heavy against my neck. You make me weak, she said into the silence. No, I whispered, brushing my fingers against her wrist. I make you real. She didn't answer, but she didn't let go. The next morning, she was gone before I woke. The pillow beside me still warm, but the room empty. For a moment, I doubted it had even happened. But then I saw the note on my nightstand. You're not a weapon. You're the reason I don't need one. I pressed the paper to my chest, trying not to fall too fast, too hard. But I already was. That day, the staff treated me differently. Not out of fear, not out of respect. Something more like recognition. Like they saw me now as someone permanent. I spent most of the afternoon in the library, pretending to read. But every sound made me look up, hoping it was her. When she finally appeared, it wasn't with flowers or declarations. It was with a cup of tea and her usual unreadable expression.
She handed it to me,
sat down beside me, said nothing, but her hand brushed mine once.
Twice.
And when I didn't pull away, she laced our fingers together.
You scare me, she said.
Good, I whispered. Because you terrify me. She smiled. A real one. Small. Private. Mine. That night, we didn't make love again. We just laid in bed, talking in the dark. She told me about her mother, how she left when Valeria was 11, how her father taught her that softness was weakness. She told me about the first deal she ever made. The first time she ruined a man's legacy and felt nothing. And now? I asked. Now I feel everything, she said. Because of you. I kissed her, slow and deep, and didn't say another word. But peace doesn't last in homes built on politics and blood. A week later, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a flash drive. We plugged it into her private laptop, expecting blackmail or surveillance. What we saw was worse. My father, on screen, sitting with Camille, the same woman who once tried to tear Valeria's firm apart. My father's voice was calm, The marriage isn't holding. She's growing attached. Use the girl. Break her. And when Cain falls, we'll be waiting to pick up the pieces. Valeria's face turned to stone. He used you, she said, her voice barely audible. He gave you to me like a trap.
But I chose you, I said, standing.
That's what he never planned for. She looked at me, something breaking behind her eyes. You're not safe here. I'm not leaving you. Arya. No, I stepped forward, took her hand, pressed it to my chest. He tried to sell me like property. You're the only one who ever looked at me like I was mine. So whatever happens now, I'm staying. They'll come for us. Let them. We didn't speak for hours after the video. She closed the laptop slowly, deliberately, as if slamming it shut might make it more real. Her face remained unreadable, jaw tense, hands folded in her lap, like she was holding herself together through sheer will. I stood across the room, feeling the burn of betrayal crawl up my spine like acid. Not from her. From them. From the people who shared my blood and used my body as leverage. He was never going to protect you, Valeria said at last. Her voice didn't waver.
It was too cold for that.
He was going to let me destroy you. He didn't care who you were. He only cared what you were. A Cain. I nodded. And I was the price of peace. She looked at me now, really looked at me, like she was trying to memorize something she feared she might lose. You don't have to stay. I told you I would. Even after that? Especially after that. I crossed the room, stopping in front of her. You didn't use me. You didn't touch me until I let you. You gave me choices when no one else did. Her voice dropped. They're going to escalate. Let them. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. They're afraid of what we are together. Because we didn't follow the script. Because we're not pretending anymore, she said, almost to herself. Exactly. She stood, her presence filling the space like a storm held behind glass. Then we take control of the story. What do you have in mind? War. I didn't flinch. I only said, then let's win. We spent the next 3 days sealing every crack. Every security system tripled. Every staff member reviewed. Elise was the only one Valeria trusted enough to keep close, and even she was kept in the dark about our next moves. Camille went silent. My father stopped returning calls. But we felt the tension closing in. Whispers. Surveillance vans. Leaked rumors in the press. But none of it could prepare me for the message that arrived on the 4th morning. A photo, taken from a rooftop, of me and Valeria on the garden balcony, laughing. Unposed. Unaware. Natural. And beneath it, a line of text. We know what matters most to her. Ready to watch it burn? I dropped the phone. Valeria was there in seconds, catching it, reading it, going still. You're the target now, she said. I always was.
No.
Before, you were bait. Now you're the prize. Good, I said. Let them try to take me. I want them to. Don't tempt them. Why not? Because I don't know what I'll do if they touch you. Her voice cracked at the edges. I stepped closer. Then don't let them. I'm trying. Try harder. I kissed her like I meant it, like she was the only anchor keeping me from slipping into chaos. And she kissed me back like she was choosing me over everything else she'd ever fought for. We made love that night without fear, without hesitation, without pretending the world outside wasn't crashing toward us. She touched me like I was the only softness she had left, and I gave her everything. The next morning, we called a press conference. Her idea. My voice. I stood beside her in a room full of flashing cameras, microphones, and sharpened questions, and I said the truth. That the marriage had been arranged, yes. That I had been a bargaining chip, yes. But that I had chosen to stay. Chosen to love. Chosen her. And I wouldn't be shamed for that. The headlines lit up within minutes. Cain heiress's wife breaks silence. Not disposable. Arya Hartley speaks out. An alliance turned real. But with the attention came more threats. One night, our car was followed. Another, Someone hacked into the house security grid and turned off the cameras for exactly 13 minutes. No break-in. No physical trace. Just a warning. Valeria stopped sleeping. She started carrying her gun again. I found her one night in the library, sitting in the dark with a whiskey in one hand and the other clenching nothing. "They're getting closer," she said. "I can feel it." "Then what do? We bait them."
How?
"We fake a split."
What?
"We stage a fight. A brutal, public breakup. You move out. Cry on camera. Leak photos. Make them think you're alone. Vulnerable. And then we watch who comes close." "You want to use me again?" "No," she said sharply. "I want to end this. For both of us." "You said I wasn't disposable." "You're not. But if they believe you are, they'll slip up. And what if they don't take the bait? Then we leave. For real. New names. New lives. You'd give all this up?" "In a second. If it means keeping you safe." I stared at her. At the woman who once terrified me. Who now terrified everyone but me. "Then let's do it. Let's give them a show." The next morning, the news broke. Kane marriage crumbling? Arya seen leaving Kane estate in tears. Cameras caught me packing a bag. Caught Elise helping me into a car. Caught Valeria standing at the gate, stone-faced, silent. Every second was planned. Every movement scripted. But it didn't feel like acting. Not when I turned around and saw her there. Not when I knew I wouldn't see her again until this was over. That night, I stayed in a private safe house owned by one of her shell companies. I paced, waited, watched the feeds. And then, just after midnight, the door opened. Not Valeria. Camille.
Smiling. Calm.
"You looked so heartbroken on TV," she said. "Almost made me believe you weren't playing her." "What do you want?" "What I always wanted. The Empire. And now, you're the key to it." "You really think she'll give it up for me?" "She already has. She just doesn't know it yet." My fingers slid behind me, toward the silent alert Elise had shown me how to trigger. "She's not going to let you walk out of here. She doesn't have a choice." But she did. And she proved it 30 seconds later, when the door behind Camille slammed open and Valeria stepped through, gun drawn, voice like steel. "Wrong again." Camille froze, her smile faltering for the first time since she stepped through the door. She turned slowly to face Valeria, whose gun was aimed with unwavering precision, her body a study in lethal calm. No hesitation. No mercy. Her voice dropped into something cold enough to burn. "Step away from her." Camille lifted both hands slowly, but the mockery in her eyes remained. "Valeria. Always so dramatic. Did you really think I'd hurt your little prize?" Valeria took one step forward, then another. "I think you don't know how close you are to dying." "Oh, I know. But so do you. You wouldn't have followed me alone." "Who said I'm alone?" As if on cue, Elise emerged from the hallway behind me, gun drawn, expression unreadable. "Took you long enough," I muttered. Elise smiled faintly. "You're fine. You were never not fine." Camille's eyes flicked between the three of us, calculating. I could see it in the twitch of her jaw, the tightening of her shoulders. She was cornered, but she still thought she had a move left. "You can kill me," she said, turning back to Valeria. "But it won't stop what's coming. Your father's legacy is already rotting. The board wants blood. And your wife," she nodded toward me, "was just the start." "You made one mistake," Valeria said, voice sharp as glass. "You touched what's mine." And then she fired. The bullet tore through Camille's shoulder, not fatal, but enough to drop her to the ground with a scream. Elise moved fast, disarming her, pinning her down, zip-tying her wrists with smooth efficiency. I stood frozen, heart pounding, watching the blood spread beneath Camille's arm. I'd never seen Valeria shoot someone before. I knew she could. I knew she would. But watching her do it for me made something twist deep inside my chest. She lowered the gun, eyes never leaving Camille. "That was the warning shot," she said. "Next time I don't miss." Elise dragged Camille to her feet, already calling the private security team through her comms. Valeria turned to me. Are you hurt? No, my voice came out steadier than I felt. I'm okay. Did she touch you? No. Did she threaten you? Not directly. Just implied I was bait. Said I was the key to your empire. She's wrong. Valeria crossed the room, cupped my face in both hands, her eyes filled with a fury that didn't scare me, but the tenderness beneath it did. You're not the key to what I've built. You're the only thing I've built that actually matters. I leaned into her touch, let myself breathe for the first time in hours. We still have a target on our backs. Not for long. What do you mean? Camille wasn't working alone. I've known that since the night they sent the photo to the house. She's just the piece they threw away when it got risky. So, who's next? Her gaze hardened. Your father. The name made my stomach turn. You think he's sent Camille to get close? I think he's been planning this since the day he married you off. He knew I wouldn't treat you like a pawn. He knew you'd become my weakness. He just didn't realize how far I'd go to protect you. I sat down slowly, the adrenaline fading, leaving a cold void behind. If we go after him, it becomes open war. It already is. Are you ready for that? I've been ready since the day you walked into that room with your head held high and your heart still intact. And if I asked you to walk away from it all? From the empire, the war, the throne. I'd walk.
Right now.
No hesitation. I looked up at her, searching her face.
You mean that?
I've meant every word I've ever said to you. I reached for her hand. Then, let's end it. On our terms. Together. Elise cleared her throat from the doorway. Not to interrupt your very intense vow exchange, but I have Camille's phone. Unlocked. Last message was sent to a contact labeled only as A. The location was pinged. Where? Valeria asked. Downtown. Old Kane headquarters. The one your father used before he moved everything north. He's there, I said. Valeria nodded. He's waiting for the fallout. He thinks we're bleeding. Let's make him wish we were. We moved fast. Elise coordinated security. Valeria checked the weapons herself. I changed into all black, tying my hair back, slipping a blade into my boot the way Valeria had taught me in the privacy of her bedroom weeks ago. I wasn't afraid. I was angry. I was done being passive. Done being a pawn. We arrived at the building just after midnight. It looked abandoned, but the interior lights glowed faintly behind shuttered windows. Valeria moved like a ghost, silent and fluid. I followed close behind, my hand brushing her back once, just to feel her steady heartbeat. We entered through a side door Elise had unlocked earlier. The first floor was empty. The second held only echoes. But the third, Valeria's old office, was where we found him. My father. Sitting behind her former desk like he owned it. There she is, he said, standing. The little traitor. And the queen she sold herself to. You're the one who sold me, I said, stepping forward. You handed me over like a trophy and expected me to break her from the inside. You were never supposed to love her. And you were never supposed to underestimate me. He sneered. What did she promise you? Power? Legacy?
Peace.
And the right to choose who I am. You're my blood. Not anymore. Valeria stepped forward, gun lowered but ready. You have one chance to walk away. Or what? He asked. You'll shoot me like you did Camille? Camille's alive.
For now.
You won't be. You won't risk the PR fallout. Try me. His hand twitched toward his jacket. Valeria didn't wait. One shot. Shoulder. Same as Camille. He fell to the floor with a cry, gripping his arm. That's for using her, she said. The next one's for forgetting who I am. Elise swept in seconds later, security detail behind her, and within minutes he was restrained, sedated, and removed. I stood in the center of the office, the chaos spinning down, the air clearing, and looked at Valeria. She looked at me. It's over, she said. Is it? If you want it to be. I want to start over. With me? I walked to her, wrapped my arms around her waist. With you. Not as your obligation.
Not as your peace treaty.
As your choice. She smiled. The soft one. the one she only gave me. You were never disposable, Arya. You were inevitable. I kissed her like I believed it. Because I did. Because I always had. And this time, no one could take it from us. Power doesn't just shift overnight. It lingers. It watches. It waits to see if the ones who seized it are brave or foolish enough to keep it. The day after my father was taken into custody, the world held its breath. The Kane names surged across headlines, paired now with mine. Some said it was a love story. Others called it betrayal. But no one could deny what had happened. The Kane Empire had survived a direct assault and come out stronger, quieter, and with me standing at Valeria's side, no longer hidden in her shadow. The firm held. The press spun stories. The vultures circled, but didn't dare land. Not yet. We didn't return to the Kane estate for 3 days. We stayed at a private property along the coast, the windows wide and the air heavy with salt and safety. I thought we'd breathe easier now. I thought peace would settle into the spaces where war had lived. But Valeria didn't sleep. She moved through the house like a ghost, checking locks that didn't need checking, windows that hadn't been opened. She touched me more often, but held me like I might disappear. You're still waiting for the next strike, I said one morning as I stepped behind her on the balcony, watching her stare out at the ocean. She didn't answer at first. Then, I don't know how not to. It's over. No, she said softly. He was the face, but not the root. What do you mean? My father left behind enemies. Mine multiplied with every deal I made. Camille was just one of them. Your father aligned himself with another. And whoever that is, they haven't shown their face yet. I wrapped my arms around her from behind, rested my chin on her shoulder. Then let them. We're not afraid. You're not, she said. But I am. I've never had anything to lose before. That night, we slept in the same bed, tangled in each other. Her hand never left my skin. I could feel the fear in her body, even when she was still. The calm before the next storm. When we returned to the city, the firm greeted her with quiet reverence. The board didn't challenge her. No one dared. Elise remained close, eyes sharper than ever. I resumed working with Valeria, not because she asked, but because I wanted to. I wasn't just her wife now. I was her partner. And I wanted to know every corner of her world, including the ugly ones. A week passed. Then 2. The peace held. Until the letter arrived. No return address. Hand-delivered by someone Elise didn't recognize. A single line of text on thick white cardstock, embossed in gold. She wasn't your first, but she'll be your last. Valeria read it twice. Her face didn't change, but her hands did. They shook. What does it mean? I asked. She folded the letter slowly. It means someone knows. About Ava. The name was like a crack through still water. I'd never heard it before. But the look on Valeria's face told me everything I needed to know. Who is she? I asked. A long time ago, she began. When I was 19, I fell in love. Or at least I thought I did. Her name was Ava. She was reckless and wild and brilliant. And she died because of me. What happened? My father made a deal with someone who didn't want to be exposed. Ava got too close. She was investigating something. I begged her to stop. She didn't. Her car exploded outside her apartment. My God, I whispered. He said it was random. A gas leak. I knew better. I've carried her death with me ever since. Why didn't you tell me? Because it's the one time I let myself believe love could survive in my world. And it didn't. I reached for her hand. It's surviving now. For how long? As long as we fight for it. Elise ran background checks on every person who had access to our building. All came back clean. But someone had gotten inside. Someone who knew Ava's name. The Kane estate was locked down tighter than ever. But the fear wasn't about bullets or bombs anymore. It was about what could be taken without violence, without noise. One evening, I came home to find my office tore apart. Not by intruders. By Valeria. She was sitting on the floor, surrounded by papers, red-eyed and silent. What happened? I asked, rushing to her. I needed to be sure, she said, that no one had left anything for them to find. Any file. Any message. You don't have to protect me from ghosts. You don't understand, she whispered. If they take you, I won't just burn the city. I'll become something I can't come back from. I cupped her face in both hands. Then don't let them. I already have. You're in this now. And you'll never get out. I don't want out. You should. But I won't. Her mouth found mine then, desperate, breaking, searching. We kissed like the world was ending. Like we just remembered it could. That night, I woke to the sound of glass shattering downstairs. Valeria was already on her feet, gun in hand, robe flying behind her. I followed, heart racing. Elise was at the bottom of the stairs, a flashlight sweeping the dark. The front window had been smashed, but nothing was taken. Nothing inside was touched. Just a message spray-painted across the marble floor in thick, black letters. History always repeats itself. Elise's voice was clipped. They're not here to kill. They're here to unmake her. Valeria stood in the center of the room, staring at the words. They're trying to break me. I stepped beside her. They won't. They already are. You're not alone. She looked at me, and for once I saw something that shattered me.
Defeat.
What if I can't protect you? Then let me protect you.
How?
By being the one thing they can't predict. Which is, I love you. She closed her eyes. Say it again. I love you. God help me, she whispered. I love you too. The next morning, we went public again. A live interview. Not about the firm. Not about the power. About us. The marriage. The truth. We told the world everything. The arrangement. The betrayal. The war. The survival. And the love that refused to die in the ashes. We thought light might kill the shadows. But hours later, we got the real message. Not a threat. A recording. Security footage from 10 years ago.
Ava.
Smiling. Laughing. Walking into Valeria's office. And behind her, someone we recognized.
Elise.
The silence that followed the footage was louder than any scream. Valeria stared at the screen, unmoving, her jaw locked, her eyes unreadable. I saw it before she spoke. That slow, methodical shift inside her, like the ground beneath her had started to split open, and she wasn't sure whether to run or burn everything around her.
Elise.
Her right hand, the woman who'd guarded our door, walked into every risk without flinching, aimed a gun in Camille's face like it was second nature. The woman who had been with Valeria for nearly a decade. And now she stood beside Ava in a recording that had no reason to exist, unless it meant something. I reached for her hand, but she stepped away. Not from me. Not completely, but from the weight of what she'd just seen. There has to be context, I said carefully. You told me Ava was investigating something. Maybe Elise didn't know. She was in my office, Valeria murmured. With her. Smiling. That wasn't an ambush. That was trust. Then ask her. And if she lies? Then you'll know. She didn't answer. She just walked out of the room and down the hallway like a shadow bleeding from the walls. I followed. Elise was in the main security room, going over the overnight systems. She didn't look surprised when Valeria entered. She didn't reach for a weapon. Didn't panic. That scared me more than anything. You saw the footage, Elise said. Valeria's voice was ice. Explain it. Elise leaned back, folding her arms. Ava came to me before she went to you. She had information about your father's offshore deals. She knew they were dangerous. She thought she could protect you by finding proof. You didn't tell me. She begged me not to. She thought you'd shut her down. She didn't want you to have to choose between her and your legacy. So, you helped her. I monitored her, watched her back. I thought I could keep her safe. But I underestimated what your father was capable of. And when she died, Valeria's voice cracked on the word. You stayed by my side like nothing happened? Because I blamed myself. Because I couldn't protect her. And I thought the least I could do was protect you. You don't get to decide that. Neither do you. You built a world where no one tells you the truth unless it's convenient. Valeria moved so fast I barely saw it. Her hand slammed down beside Elise's head against the console, eyes burning. You had no right to keep her from me, and you had no right to put her in the position where she had to lie to you to survive. I stepped in, placing a hand on Valeria's shoulder. Enough. She didn't move, didn't blink, but she didn't strike. You're off the team, Valeria said finally, voice like ash. Effective immediately. You leave the estate tonight. If I see you again, you won't, Elise said quietly. But if you want to know the rest of the truth, look in the red box in the back of your safe. The one you forgot was even there. She stood and left without another word. Valeria didn't look at me. She just walked back to her private suite, closed the door, and locked it. I waited 3 hours before entering. I knew the override code. She was sitting on the floor, the red box open in front of her. Inside were photos, letters, a USB drive, and a ring. You kept a ring? I asked softly. She nodded. I couldn't throw it away. I didn't know what to do with it. And the letters? They were never sent. She wrote them. Elise intercepted them after the explosion. She was going to give them to me. Someday. Do you want to read them? No, she looked up at me. I don't want to live in the past anymore. Then don't. I knelt in front of her. Live in this. In now. With me. I don't know how. Let me show you. I leaned in and kissed her, gentle and slow. She kissed me back like she was afraid I'd vanish if she didn't hold tight enough. That night, I burned the letters, one by one. Valeria watched without speaking. When I got to the ring, I paused. This? I asked. She took it, closed her fist around it. It's time to bury her. Not just the memory, the guilt. Then do it with me. We buried the ring beneath the fig tree in the garden, just after midnight. No words, no tears, just dirt under our hands and the sound of a chapter finally ending. For 3 days the house was still, quiet. But then it came. A name. Sent through a block number. Dorian Vale. And beneath it, the man behind the Ava job. And the next one. Valeria read it. Her face turned to stone. He was my father's cleaner. The one they never named. No files. No trace. I thought he disappeared. He didn't. He's the one behind Camille. Behind the footage. He's the one trying to break us from the shadows. What does he want? Power. Always power. And now, he wants to prove that I can't hold it without becoming him. So, what do? We don't wait. She pulled up the internal network, cross-referenced hidden servers, ghost IPs. And there, buried 6 firewalls deep, we found it. A file titled simply, The Kane Widow. It was a full dossier. On me. Where I shopped. Who I called. What time I slept. He's planning something, I said. He's watching. Then we give him something to see. You want to trap him? No, she said, eyes dark. I want to destroy him. But before we could move, the power cut out. All at once. Total black. And then a voice over the intercom. Come. Male. Familiar. Round 2, Valeria. Let's see if your new wife survives this one. The lights were gone. The entire estate swallowed by pitch-black silence. The only sound was my breath, shallow and uneven, and the faint hum of emergency generators too far to reach. But that voice, his voice, cut through everything. Calm. Cold. Too close. Round 2, Valeria. Let's see if your new wife survives this one. Valeria's arm was already around me, pulling me close to her body, shielding me with the kind of urgency that didn't need explanation. She reached for her gun on instinct, checked the safety by touch, then leaned down to whisper against my ear, her voice barely audible. Stay behind me. No matter what you hear, you don't move. Valeria, no. If he touches you, I will never come back from it. Then don't let him. Her fingers brushed mine once. It wasn't softness, it was something desperate, something grounding. Then she moved. Like a shadow inside shadow. I followed. Carefully. Quietly. The backup security system was running, but only internally. No cameras. No alerts. We were flying blind. We crossed the hallway toward the panic room embedded in the east wing, the one with reinforced steel and its own power grid. We didn't make it. A sudden flicker of motion to our left. Fast, silent. A blur near the stairs. Valeria caught it first, spinning and aiming. A single shot rang out, cracking through the silence like thunder. A grunt. Then feet retreating fast. Not a direct hit, she muttered. But they know we're not running. Good. I tightened my grip on the blade tucked under my waistband. Let them bleed. If I had time, she murmured, I'd tell you how terrifyingly hot that sounded. Later, I said. You can worship me later.
Deal.
She moved again, taking us into the service corridor, hand pressed to the wall, ears sharp. Then another voice. Not from the speakers. From the room ahead.
Live. Real.
She's not what you were, Valeria, the voice said.
Male.
Rich with mockery. She's softer.
Slower.
I give her 6 minutes before she breaks. Valeria turned toward the door with a precision I'd come to recognize as deadly. 3 minutes, she whispered to me. You get to safety, no matter what happens in there. I'm not leaving you. You won't have to. I'll end this before you finish counting. And then she opened the door. He was standing there like he belonged. Dorian Vale. Late 40s.
Trim.
Expensively dressed in black. Smiling. Like he hadn't orchestrated death. Like he hadn't just tried to turn my life into leverage. Behind him, a small team of mercenaries, 3, maybe 4. All armed. But none of them moved.
Not yet.
You never did learn how to love without armor, Dorian said as Valeria stepped into the room. But now look at you. Softened by marriage. Turned into a romantic. You're dying tonight, Dorian. That's what your father said. She didn't answer. She just fired. The man closest to Dorian dropped instantly, a shot straight between the eyes. The room erupted. Bullets shattered the wall behind us. I dove, rolled, pulled my blade free, slashed at the man who reached for me. Valeria took out the next 2 with ruthless precision. 1 shot in the throat, 1 in the leg followed by a finishing blow to the temple. The silence after was deafening. Except for one thing.
Dorian. Clapping. Slow.
Mocking. So much like him, he said, but with a prettier temper. You've run out of men, Valeria said. And out of time. Oh, sweetheart, he said, pulling a detonator from his pocket. I never planned to walk out of here. I froze. Don't, I said. There's nowhere to run from what I've set in motion. That building in the city, Valeria said suddenly. The old Kane site. It's not just a memory, Dorian whispered. It's your legacy. And it burns in 20 minutes. People live around there. I started heart thudding. They won't for long, he said. Unless you let me go. Valeria didn't flinch. You think this is a game? It always was. And I just flipped the last piece. Then so will I. She shot him. Not in the chest. Not in the leg. But in the hand. The detonator clattered to the floor, harmless, sparks flying. Dorian screamed, dropped to his knees, clutching the shredded remains of his hand. You underestimated me, she said. You thought I was still my father's daughter. You are, he snarled. You just don't know it yet. No, she whispered, turning to me. I've never been more myself than I am with her. She looked at the device. How do we stop it? You can't, Dorian spat, breathing hard. You'll have to watch everything he built turn to ash. Just like she did. Valeria grabbed him by the collar. Who is she? Ask Elise, he hissed. You think you cut her out, but she's always been 2 steps ahead. He laughed, blood on his teeth. She was never yours. She was always ours. Valeria punched him. Hard. Enough to drop him cold. I grabbed the detonator and turned it over. It's already activated. 10 minutes. We need to get to the site. We'll never make it in time. Then we send someone who can. Who? Elise, I said. If what he said is true, we'll know by whether or not the city explodes. Valeria looked at me like she didn't want to agree. but time was running out. Call her. Tell her she has one chance to prove whose side she's on. I did. No answer. The timer hit 7 minutes. Then 6. At 5 minutes, the screen on the detonator blinked. A signal interruption. Then, deactivation confirmed. Silence. We exhaled at the same time. Valeria collapsed to her knees. I pulled her into my arms, shaking.
She stopped it, I said.
Or someone did. It's over, she whispered.
No.
It's beginning. Dorian groaned on the floor, still breathing. Valeria looked at me. We could hand him over. Or, I kissed her jaw. Or, we handle it like Kane women. Her smile was feral. Together? Always. Dorian Vale was still breathing when we carried him out of the wreckage. Not because he deserved to live, but because Valeria wanted him to watch everything he failed to destroy rise stronger than before. We didn't turn him over to the authorities. That was too kind. Too clean. We took him somewhere quieter. Somewhere King-controlled. No press. No cameras. Just truth and consequence. The moment the security team secured him, Valeria turned to me. Her hands were streaked with his blood, her jaw tight, her mouth trembling like she'd been holding something back for too long. You still trust me? She asked, not looking at me. After this. I stepped toward her, lifted her chin with 2 fingers, and met her eyes head-on. You saved the city. You saved us. You didn't just earn my trust. You proved you were worthy of it. You think I'm worthy? I know you are. Even after everything? Especially after everything. She didn't kiss me. Not then. But the way she closed her eyes told me it landed deeper than any kiss could. Elise reappeared 2 hours later, walking through the Kane estate gates without permission but without resistance. Valeria was waiting. I stood at her side. It's done, Elise said simply. Dorian's network is collapsed. His shell companies dissolved. I had to burn a few of my own bridges to finish it, but no one will be getting up from this. And the detonator? Valeria asked. I stopped it. I used the ghost protocol you had installed 3 years ago. I left it in place for this exact scenario, in case someone ever turned the system against you. Valeria stared at her for a long time. Then, why come back? Because I still believe in what you are. And because I still believe she's the best thing that ever happened to you. Elise looked at me. You keep her honest. You make her human. Don't stop. I nodded. I won't. Elise turned to leave. Where will you go? I asked. She smiled faintly. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere where no one knows what Elise Kane's shadow ever looked like. You'll always have a place here, Valeria said. Even if you don't use it. I know, Elise replied. And then she was gone. The estate returned to stillness. But not to silence. There was a hum in the air now, something steady, strong. Like we were breathing again for the first time. Like survival had turned into power, not pain. That night, Valeria led me to the rooftop garden. The stars above us were quiet. For once, nothing hunted us. You never asked me what I want next, she said. Because I was afraid of the answer. Ask me now. I turned to face her. What do you want, Valeria? I want to tear down everything my father built. I want to take the empire he left me and remake it into something that doesn't rot everything it touches. Then do it. With you. Only with me. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small velvet box. My breath caught. I know we're already married, she said. But that wasn't ours. That was theirs. I want to choose you. Here.
Now.
Without blood in the room. She opened the box.
A ring. Simple.
Elegant.
Honest.
Marry me again, she said, voice quiet. For real this time. I didn't speak. I took the ring. I slid it onto my finger. I kissed her hard. And when I pulled away, I whispered, yes. Again. Always. We married the next weekend. No cameras. No announcements. Just the 2 of us. A courthouse, a private garden, and vows whispered in a language only we spoke. She promised to never silence herself again. I promised to never shrink to fit someone else's piece. We both promised to fight for us. With us. As equals. The firm changed. Her leadership changed. She stepped out of the spotlight, handed day-to-day power to people who earned it. She kept the core, the vision, but she built something cleaner.
Smarter. Ours.
I started my own fund, helped women who'd been traded like I once was, built them exit plans, safety, control. We didn't disappear. We just became something more dangerous than enemies could understand. We became whole. And still, there was one last thread to pull. One more ghost. A final envelope arrived at our gate. No return address. One photo inside.
Ava. Alive.
Or someone who looked just like her. Standing in Marrakesh. Holding a newspaper dated 4 days ago. And written on the back, "Sometimes love survives after all." Valeria stared at it. Then she smiled.
Small.
Quiet. She ran, she said. She faked it. She got out. And let you believe she was dead? To protect me. Just like I tried to protect you. I touched her hand. Do you want to find her? She shook her head.
No.
Because I'm not looking back anymore. I leaned in, kissed her temple. Neither am I. But I kept the photo. Not as a threat. As a reminder that even in a world where we were traded like weapons, owned like property, broken like porcelain, somehow we'd carved out a piece of softness that couldn't be stolen. And that softness? It was ours. Only ours. It was raining the night we burned the contract that sealed our first marriage. Not just the physical paper, but everything it had stood for: control, silence, leverage. Valeria held it in her gloved hand as we stood beneath the small stone archway in the garden, the rain soaking our coats, thunder murmuring low above the trees. She lit the match. I watched the flame touch the edge of the page, watched the ink curl into ash. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. That contract had made us political, strategic, inevitable, but we had rewritten everything since then. Line by line, breath by breath. Scar by scar. I looked over at her, the firelight casting flickering shadows against her sharp cheekbones and soaked hair. The ring I had chosen for her, a clean, burnished band with an engraving only we knew, gleamed on her left hand. Her fingers, once tight with control, now rested open at her sides, unguarded. "We should go in," I whispered. "You'll get sick." "Let me freeze," she said. "If it means I get to see you like this a little longer." "Like what?" "Like you belong to no one but yourself." I stepped closer, brushing my lips against her jaw. "I don't belong to anyone," I murmured. "But if I had to choose someone to walk beside, forever, it would be you." Her breath caught. I felt it more than heard it. She pressed her forehead to mine. "Then forever it is." We left the ruins of our first marriage in the fire, and we built the rest of our lives from there. A year passed. Peaceful wasn't the right word. Nothing with Valeria Kane could ever be peaceful. But it was ours.
And it was real.
We traveled. We worked. We lived in 2 cities at once. My apartment in Florence, where I painted again. Her penthouse in New York, where her name on a building no longer meant fear, but vision. The Kane name had shifted. Not erased, but reshaped. She let go of the board, appointed women she trusted, rebuilt alliances that weren't soaked in blood. She didn't change who she was. She simply let the world see the version of her I had known all along. The one who slipped coffee under my door, who laid a blanket over my shoulders, who called me mine like it was a vow. The world called us powerful, dangerous. They weren't wrong, but they missed the best part. We were happy, not perfect, but so deeply happy that even on the hard days, it felt like light cracking through armor. And then, one afternoon in Florence, as the sun spilled through the windows of my studio and Valeria stood in nothing but a half-buttoned shirt and my lipstick across her collarbone, I told her I wanted to start over in one more way. "What kind of start over?" she asked, sipping her coffee, eyes sleepy. "I want to take your name." She blinked. "You already have it. Legally. I want to wear it.
Publicly.
I want them to know I'm not just the woman you protected. I'm the woman you chose. The woman who built this with you. You want to be Arya Kane. I already am. Her mug hit the table. She crossed the room in 2 strides, kissed me like she needed to feel my answer between her teeth. And then she said, "Then let's make it official." The second wedding was private too. But this time, it wasn't hidden. We let them see. Let the world watch as we stepped onto a stone terrace in Tuscany, surrounded by women we'd once saved and ones who now worked beside us. No suits. No weapons. Just 2 vows. 2 rings. 2 hearts that refused to break. They called me ruthless, she said, holding both my hands in front of everyone. But they never asked why I became that way. I became ruthless to survive. Until I met you. You didn't soften me. You reminded me that I didn't have to stay hardened just to be strong. You reminded me that I could lead without bleeding. That I could love without fear. They called me disposable. I answered, tears in my voice. But you never once looked at me like I was. You saw me. Chose me. Let me take up space next to you without shrinking. You were never the villain they made you out to be. You were my salvation. We kissed before the officiant gave permission. Typical. But no one stopped us. The applause was real. The love was louder. And the future felt like fire and freedom and silk all at once. We honeymooned on a private island Valeria bought the week after the second wedding. She didn't tell me how much it cost. She just showed me the keys and said, "This is where we go when the world gets too loud." I didn't ask for anything else. Because I had everything. Years passed. And no enemy ever rose again who could tear us apart. Because we stopped leaving cracks for them to crawl through. And the ones who tried, they learned that a woman who was once traded like property becomes something terrifying when she owns her name, her body, and her love. And the woman who loved her? She'd always been ruthless. But now she was something far more dangerous. She was happy. And together, we were unstoppable. Thank you so much for your support, whether it's by liking, commenting, sharing, or sending your super thanks. You make all the difference here on the channel. See you in the next video.